I'm Anil Kumar sharing with you a very interesting question from my subscriber. The question here is why the cross product is a vector quantity. Well, let's try to understand this situation. Now, the very first question which actually comes to my mind is why vectors or why mathematics? Well, a very simple answer to this is with the help of mathematics, we model situations. We understand things around us and we can provide logical explanation. Now, always these were our objectives for introducing new things in mathematics, right? Now, let's look into this particular situation. We have a nut and we want to kind of open it up. So we need this wrench. Now, what you notice here is that a movement on the plane of paper will actually open it up, means move it up, or tighten it up, pull it down. So we have a situation. And what is this situation? Situation is that movement, say counterclockwise. On this paper results into upward motion of the screw. Now the thing is, how do we explain this situation? Right? That's a very important question. How do we explain it? Now here, we can introduce cross product and provide the answer. Do you see that? Now, the second question here is why cross product is a vector quantity. So why cross product is a vector quantity? Well, for me, what happens if I change the direction? So if I change the direction, that is, we say movement is now clockwise. In that case, the result is what? In that case, motion is downwards. So that means direction changes. So what happens here? So we see that this physical quantity is sensitive to direction. So that means the resultant, or we can say the result is vector. Since vector has both magnitude and direction. I hope that makes sense, right? So that is how we could kind of explain it. Now, to really solve questions related to it, we went a step forward. And what we did was that we introduced R3. It might have been there, but we introduced R3 for our vectors, where XY plane represents the paper and Z in 3 dimension will represent the upward or downward movement, since this z could also be in the downward direction. Perfect. And now see how things come together. Let us introduce, let's say this I is a unit vector in the direction of x, j in the direction of y. Now if I do a counterclockwise movement, then what is the result? Well, the result is that the screw moves up. It comes out of the paper, 3-dimensional, right? So the vector product vector cross product, I should say, explains this situation. Correct? So it kind of expands our understanding. To 3 dimensions. And you can notice in this particular case that if the direction is changed to clockwise, in that case the movement will be downwards. Correct? So for any scalar multiple of these vectors, right, will have increased or decreased magnitude, and so I hope it makes some sense, right? And a very simple definition is given. Let's say vector A is cross multiplied by vector B. What we get is magnitude of A times magnitude of B times sine of theta, which is angle between these two vectors. And that also makes sense, since look into this position. So if we have a wrench, let me just make a very simple wrench here. Right, so if we have a wrench here and we want to use this particular object as a screw, in that case, if you apply the force at right angles, it will be most affected. So sine theta for 90 degrees is 1. Do you see that? Full component of the force is applied in the movement. Correct? We know sine of 90 degrees is 1. And so it makes sense to use this cross product with product of magnitudes times sine theta. And as we saw, the result will be upward movement, which will be represented by the z-axis. So I hope this simple explanation gives you some idea why cross product is a vector quantity. So it is really a vector quantity designed because of its use to explain physical quantities, right? So it explains physical, real life situations. Perfect. So that is how we could give some sort of explanation to this. Hope you find it interesting and useful. Feel free to write your comments and share your views. If you really like and subscribe to my videos, that will be great. Thanks a lot.